The Grand Canyon, one of the most iconic natural wonders in the world, has always been a source of awe and inspiration. But when a group of hikers stumbled upon something so inexplicable, so terrifying, it sent shockwaves through the entire globe. The incident left experts scratching their heads and conspiracy theorists buzzing with speculation. What could have caused such an unimaginable event in one of the most remote and beautiful places on Earth? The answer will leave you on the edge of your seat, questioning everything you thought you knew about the Grand Canyon. So, are you ready to join us as we delve deep into the mystery that has rocked the world to its core? Evidence of human habitation in the Grand Canyon region was discovered 10,500 years ago, marking the start of the region's recorded human history. Many scientists believe that the Colorado River, acting throughout millions of years, carved out the Grand Canyon. The river's original path was altered when the Kaibab Plateau was formed in the original line of travel. The river split into two channels, one of which empties into the Gulf of Mexico and the other of which forms a huge lake. The lake dried up over time, leaving the Grand Canyon in its place. It took the Grand Canyon millions and millions of years to form, rather than being the outcome of a single historical event. Popular with tourists from all over the world, the Grand Canyon in Arizona in the United States showcases an astounding geological timeline of the globe spanning millions of years. The canyon lies in Arizona, and the Colorado River is its main waterway. It's proof that nature's beauty extends far below the surface of the planet, as well as above it. Due to its huge canyon, it is consistently one of the most visited tourist attractions in the United States. The rock formations that make up the Grand Canyon are considered to be among the most well-documented and comprehensive on the entire planet. The approximately 200 million to almost 2 billion years that separate the nearly 40 major sedimentary rock strata that can be seen in the Grand Canyon and the surrounding area of Grand Canyon National Park is the age range that these layers span. The majority of them were deposited in warm, shallow seas and in the area close to old seacoasts that have long since disappeared in western North America. There are examples of marine sediments as well as terrestrial sediments, such as lithified dunes from a desert that has since disappeared. There are at least 14 unconformities that are known to exist in the geologic record that can be discovered in the Grand Canyon. The Laramide orogeny began approximately 75 million years ago. It was a mountain-building episode that was largely responsible for forming the Rocky Mountains to the east. The uplift of this region began during the Laramide orogeny, and it is estimated that the Colorado Plateau was raised upwards of 2.2 miles in total. As a consequence of crustal stretching, the neighboring basin and range province that is located to the west began to take shape approximately 18 million years ago. A drainage system that spilled into what is now the lower basin and range region once flowed what is today the eastern Grand Canyon of the U.S. Around 6 million years ago, when the Gulf of California first started to form, a massive river was able to begin carving its way to the northeast from the Gulf. The new river cut off the drainage from the older river to create the original Colorado River, which in turn initiated the formation of the Grand Canyon. The onset of wetter climates brought on by the ice ages 2 million years ago led to a significant acceleration in the process of the Grand Canyon's excavation, and it was almost exactly as deep as it is today, 1.2 million years ago. Lava was spread across the area between 1.8 million and 500,000 years ago as a result of volcanic activity. At least 13 lava dams stopped the flow of the Colorado River, which resulted in the formation of lakes that reached depths of up to 2,000 feet. Because of the end of the most recent ice age and subsequent human activities, the capacity of the Colorado River to carve out the canyon has been significantly diminished. The normal processes of sediment movement and deposition have been disrupted, in particular by dams. To determine whether or if controlled floods caused by the Glen Canyon Dam further upstream have a restorative impact, these floods have been carried out. The region is still susceptible to quakes and other types of erosive and mass wasting phenomena. Deep within the Grand Canyon is where a mystery awaits. Rocks that date back 1 billion years have mysteriously vanished. Since it was initially reported about 150 years ago, this great unconformity has caused quite a commotion in the scientific community. Think of the red bluffs and cliffs of the Grand Canyon as Earth's history textbook, Bara Peak, a geologist from the University of Colorado in Boulder, said in a statement. If you scale down the granite cliffs of the canyon, you can time travel back over 2 billion years into the history of the world. However, pages are missing from that textbook as well. In some areas of the Grand Canyon, rocks that date back more than 1 billion years have mysteriously vanished without a trace. In a newly published study, experts led by Peak identified a possible cause for the missing rocks. This cause is the breakup of Earth's ancient supercontinent Rodinia roughly 700 million years ago. The upheaval was so severe that it most certainly carried boulders and sediment into the ocean. In the case of the Grand Canyon, this equates to 1 billion years worth of sediment. During a boat voyage that took place in 1869 along the Colorado River, which is responsible for carving out Arizona's Grand Canyon, John Wesley Powell was the first person to describe the Great Unconformity. According to the experts, it was one of the first intriguing geologic structures in North America that had adequate documentation. In the spring of 2021, Peak and the team successfully performed an excursion similar to Powell's and were met with the same stark barrier between the rock layers of the Grand Canyon, which could be seen from the river. According to the findings of the researchers, several locations along the canyon have rocks that are between 1.4 and 1.8 billion years old that are buried beneath layers that are only 520 million years old. There are beautiful lines, Peak remarked. At the very bottom there are some rocks that have been pushed together, and this is very obvious to everyone who looks. Their layers are stacked vertically. After that there's a break in the rock, and above that you can see these lovely horizontal layers that form the buttes and peaks that are typically associated with the Grand Canyon. To gain a more in-depth understanding of the Grand Canyon's geological past, Peak and her colleagues employed a technique known as thermochronology, which traces the progression of rock heating over time. When rocks are buried at great depths underground, the tremendous pressure that builds up on top of them causes the rocks to become extremely hot. This toasting, in turn, leaves a chemical footprint of minerals behind the rock that reveals clues about the history of the heating process that took place. After examining some rock samples from all across the Grand Canyon, Peak and her colleagues concluded that the history of the Great Unconformity may be more intricate than was first thought. The findings of the investigation have led the investigators to hypothesize that the eastern and western halves of the canyon may have been subjected to distinct geological transformations over the course of time. It's not a single block with the same temperature history, said Peak. It's not even close. The researchers believe that the breakup of Rodinia, the supercontinent that came before the more well-known Pangaea, occurred roughly 700 million years ago as a series of minor faulting episodes, and there's a good chance that the dramatic faulting tore up the terrain around the canyon, causing boulders and debris to wash away into the ocean. The basement rock in the western half of the Grand Canyon appears to have broken through to the surface some 700 million years ago, whereas the same stone in the eastern half of the canyon is buried behind kilometers of sediment. According to the findings of the study, the upheaval may have torn at the eastern and western halves of the Grand Canyon in distinct ways and at slightly different times, which ultimately resulted in the formation of the Great Unconformity. The findings of the team are contributing to a better understanding of what took place during this crucial period for the Grand Canyon, as well as other locations in North America that have suffered periods of lost time that are analogous to this one. Rebecca Flowers, who is also a geologist and works at the University of Colorado in Boulder, is one of the study's co-authors. We have new analytical methods in our lab that allow us to decipher the history of the missing window of time across the Great Unconformity, she said. And we're doing this in the Grand Canyon as well as at other Great Unconformity localities across North America. The Grand Canyon Tribal Coalition recently made public a new plan to establish the Baj Navajo Ita Kukvini Grand Canyon National Monument in order to preserve nearly 1 million acres of land in the Grand Canyon region and watershed. The coalition is encouraging President Biden to exercise his authority under the Antiquities Act to conserve federal land surrounding the Grand Canyon National Park. They are joined in this effort by Representative Grijalva and Senator Sinema, both of whom represent Arizona. The Havasupai tribe, the Hopi tribe, the Hulapai tribe, the Kaibab Plateau tribe, the Las Vegas Band of Paiute tribe, the Moapa Band of Paiutes, the Paiute Indian tribe of Utah, the Navajo Nation, the San Juan Southern Paiute tribe, the Yavapai Apache Nation, the Pueblo of Zuni, and the Colorado River Indian tribes are all represented in the Grand Canyon Tribal Coalition. Where tribes roam is what Baz Navajo translates to, and Havasupai, whereas our footprints is what Itakukvini translates to in Hopi. Our footprints can be found wherever tribes roam. After the news broke, the Arizona State Director of the Wilderness Society, Mike Quigley, released a statement in which he stated that the organization stands with the Grand Canyon Tribal Coalition in urging President Biden to protect the greater Grand Canyon region and watershed. This national monument proposal, which was prepared by local tribes and received backing from Congress, would conserve life-giving waterways and ensure that species have enough habitat in the red sand cliffs, pine woods, deep canyons, and grasslands that comprise this famous region. Tribes and local communities have been working together to advocate for the permanent conservation of federal public lands that are near Grand Canyon National Park and that border the park. These lands are an essential component of the Colorado River watershed and the ecosystem of the Grand Canyon. The proposed monument is home to a vast array of plant and animal life, including several species that are in danger of extinction and others that are extremely uncommon. Uranium mining has had the most direct and severe impact on Native American tribes in the Grand Canyon area. This industry has led to the contamination of water supplies, the emission of toxic air pollution, and the destruction of places that were formerly held in sacred regard. The cleanup of now defunct uranium mines continues to cost the American taxpayers millions of dollars, and at least one active mine in the area, proposed to be a national monument, poses a threat to both the drinking water supply and the habitat of local species. This is only a high-level overview of the process that resulted in the formation of the Grand Canyon over millions of years, which was driven by shifts in the environment as well as erosion, and resulted in the formation of the canyon. The final result of this process was affected in some way by a variety of factors, including but not limited to volcanism, continental drift, and even minute variations in the Earth's orbit. There were also a large number of additional factors involved, each of which in turn caused differences in the seasons and the climate. Therefore, the next time you find yourself staring in amazement at this stunning piece of natural beauty, keep in mind that you are not merely watching a big construction, but rather millions and millions of years of Mother Nature at her most creative. That's all for this video, but we'll be right back with more soon, so please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.